Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to bring up some panelists and give folks a couple minutes to get logged on online. If you are a panelist, if you could raise your hand to help me find you so I can bring you up onto the panel, that would be great. Sam, are you going to project?
Yeah. I'm ready when you are.
Okay, just one moment. I am looking for Jessica for translation. Jessica, can you raise your hand for us? Jessica, do you have a different name on your Zoom? Thank you again for joining us this evening. Dorothy, I'm going to make you a co-host and see if you can help me see if you can see, and Sam too, Jessica. Mr. Squidward, you have your hand raised. Is that a mistake or is that Jessica under a different name?
I kind of hope it's her.
Jessica, is this you? Okay.
I just sent her a message to I could try texting her too.
Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Chris Monroe, and it's my honor to serve as superintendent for Santa Cruz City Schools. We're waiting for our translator this evening. As soon as she jumps on the call, we'll be able to begin.
Jessica's joining us in 2 minutes, Chris. I just got off the phone with her.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all for joining us. We hope that the opening days of school have been good ones for your families. Gracias por venir. En unos minutos, Jessica Serna llega a esta junta para traducir para esta noche. Lo siento, mi español es mal y necesitamos ayudar. Had a lot of questions about whether or not we'll record the webinar. We will record the webinar and post it tomorrow so that you can watch it again or tell your friends and they can access it that way as well.
So Mr. Squidward still has their hand up.
I offered the opportunity to speak, but it didn't work. So there we go. Hi, Jessica. So I want to again welcome you all for joining us this evening. We're excited to have a school year up and running, excited to have your students back in classrooms with us. And Jessica will be providing translation for tonight. So Jessica, can you please give direction on how I'm going to go ahead and start translation?
Yes.
Oh, wait. I'm sorry, I did it too soon. If you click, tocar este botón para interpretación en el bajo de la the screen. Lo siento. Jessica, I'm sorry, I messed up. And I don't know how to undo it. So Jessica will be providing translation this evening. And I want to take an opportunity to introduce all the panelists tonight on the screen. And I'm going to introduce them in the order I see them on my screen. So Gail, can you say hello and share your role in the district?
Hello, everybody. My name is Gail Letlansky. I'm the Director of Student Services for Santa Cruz City Schools.
Thank you. And some of you may have known her. She also served as a principal and counselor in our school district. We're thrilled to have her in this position in the central office. Also, the next on my screen is Rishi Lal in a new position for the district this year. Rishi, will you share what you're doing?
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Rishi Lal, and I am the new Safety and Wellness Coordinator for Santa Cruz City Schools District.
And next on my screen is Sam Rollins.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sam Rollins. I'm the Chief of Communications and Community Engagement and Chief Slide Maker for the district.
Thank you, Sam. And then I have Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, Dorothy Coito.
Good evening, everyone. As Chris just stated, I am the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, and I would like to wish everyone a happy new school year.
Thank you, Dorothy. Sorry about that. Jory.
Hello, Jory Berdan and COVID Compliance Manager for this district.
So Sam is going to walk us through a presentation today and share a little bit about our how you can access supports and resources for your students, about information about our safety protocols. And then at the end of the presentation, the whole panel will take your questions and you can use the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. So if questions come up during the presentation, you can go ahead and put it there. We may answer in the chat or we may answer to the whole group as we move through the presentation this evening. And thank you again for joining us. Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you.
All right, thank you. I was muted after I shared my slides. Panelists, can everyone see the slide deck? Did that successfully transfer over? All right, so as Chris said, thank you so much for being here with us today. This is, I believe, something a little bit different. I don't remember us doing this last year, but what we wanted to do is right at the outset of the school year, one, make ourselves available for questions, and two, give a sort of brief rundown of how to access supports in the district, because we have a lot available. And then with every slide that I put up, I'm gonna at some point switch to the Spanish so that while Jessica is translating on our Spanish audio, they'll be able to follow along as well. And I'm going to blow right through this because we just did introductions. But if you have any questions after the fact of who was on this meeting and how you can get in touch with them, you can always send us an email. Specifically, send me an email. I'm going to put my email up later in the presentation. And so what we like to do at every time we have a meeting with the public, with our families, we like to put this up. This is essentially our mission statement as ratified by our board, and you know, this is the core of sort of who we are and what we do. And I'm not going to necessarily read through it all right now because I respect your time and I want to make sure that we get to the bulk of the presentation. But this is yet another thing that if you want to see these, you can send me an email. We have this information available. You know, on an overview, we just believe that it's our responsibility to give every single human, every single child, their fair chance, and they all deserve access to the same opportunities, and we'll do everything that we can to make sure that they get them, and that our process is transparent and available, and that you will always have access to what we do. That's the extreme summary. So this year, the kind of theme that we're running behind is building on success together. And what we mean by that, why we chose that, is last year we saw a year of incredible recovery. We saw probably one of the biggest jumps we've ever seen between the beginning and the end of the year in terms of learning achievement throughout the district, but also the recovery of our connections as a community and of the community that we build on all of our campuses. And so we're looking forward to another year of accelerated growth because we have so many of the supports that we hit the ground running with last year. And this is not only the resources of extra people, extra teaching assistants across the district, but also the literal building that we've done across the district as we've continued to put the bond funds that Santa Cruz and the surrounding communities voted for in 2016 to good use. We've got a lot more work to do. So our focus in the 22-23 school year is accelerated learning. And I should have said, I'm going to deliver most of this largely because I'm the fastest speaker on the panel, but I will be regularly asking the other panelists to jump in because they're the experts and they're going to have expertise that we touch on as we go through. So what do we mean by accelerated learning? It kind of ties into our multi-tiered systems of support, which is a very procedural academic sounding thing, but all it means is we have supports at every level of a student's life and a student's academic experience. And we're here to tell you how to engage with them, both academic support and social emotional supports. We're going to talk a little bit about our free food program, touch on COVID safety. We're going to make it as easy as we can to make sure that you understand where to go to when you want academic help for your student, if you think that they need it, and where to get emotional help for your student or your family if you think you need that. We'll cover how to best get involved at school and get involved on school campuses. We'll cover the communication venues that we're going to be using throughout the year and the best ways that you have of reaching us. And then we're going to talk about our school safety strategy. And this is largely because we've been making some real strides in our safety program that we haven't been communicating as much because all of our school safety communication has been taken up with COVID in recent history. And I should have switched that earlier, Jessica, so apologize for that. She and I have to get back into a rhythm. This is our first big webinar that we've done this year, and she's a great real-time translator. Okay, so once again, we're very excited to offer free food to everyone, breakfast and lunch at every single school, thanks to the National School Lunch Program. We are really asking everyone to sign up for this. Why do you have to sign up for something if it's going to be free no matter what? Well, by filling out the application form, and it's a quick form, it takes about 4 minutes. It does ask you to estimate your household income, but that information is never used in any other way. It's kept entirely private. Filling out that application and the number of people who fill it out is how we continue to fund all of our math, writing, counseling, and food programs. We really rely on that information that we get from that application. So even though it's free, even though every student is going to get food if and when they want it, we do ask everyone to fill it out. And filling it out could help you reduce your Xfinity bill. You could get discounts on college entrance exams like the SAT and ACT, the AP tests, and college applications in general. And so, yeah, if you go to sccs.net/free lunch, that is the fastest way for you to get that application. Like I said, it's very quick, and we really, really rely on the info that we get from that in order to qualify for funding throughout the year. And once again, I didn't switch it quick enough, so I'll give Jessica a moment to run through them. And okay, so we wanted to obviously start the year making sure that everyone understands our COVID safety protocols. And we see it as something of a celebration that the slide is this simple. And that means that for the first time in a long time, we aren't seeing major changes in our COVID policy. It's going to be familiar to anyone who was attending school last year. We will continue to offer testing on campus, and we really encourage everyone to participate in that. Masking and vaccination are also strongly encouraged. And we just wanted to say that the cooperation of all of us in this is very important, because while we are a very fortunate district that we have all of our teacher positions filled, we know from past surges that that we don't have enough substitutes to cover a big impact in our teaching staff. We have enough substitutes for now, but we can all work together to make sure that all of our classrooms stay safe and stay open as we go throughout the school year. And then, yeah, I'd like to give our COVID safety manager, Jory, the opportunity to jump in if he would like to. He could just shake his head at me if there's nothing more to cover. All right. So again, with this, as with anything else, you can ask us questions. You can email me your questions later as well. And I believe this week is when we're starting up testing on campus. And that has been a really helpful protective layer throughout all of last year. Okay, so we have a lot of academic and emotional supports in play at all of our schools, but we wanted to make sure that everyone knows the easiest way to get in touch with them. And of course, there's a lot of ways to engage these supports, but we like to think that the easiest approach to it is to ask the person that you know. For most of you, that's probably your teacher, and your teacher will absolutely know the best ways of engaging all of our emotional and academic supports for your student if they need it. But you can also talk to your school's counselor, and then your principal in elementary or assistant principal in middle and high school. All of these people very well know the ecosystem of support that we have in place, and because they also are likely to know your student, they're probably going to be your best contact if you want to engage any support. It's always just easiest interacting with, again, the familiar person to you. I always think that's going to be easier than using any website. So your teacher should be able to step you through that process with anything that you need. And the same is true for if your student is in any kind of distress, needs emotional support, mental health support, behavioral support of any kind. You can talk to your teacher, talk to the counselor. In middle and high, we have our social and emotional licensed counselors as well. And then a principal and assistant principal, as before, are good points of contact if you're looking for any support for your student. And as I said, we'll get to what those supports look like right now. Okay, so we're so happy to have so much academic support, right? And we're going into this year with more aides in the classroom, para-educators, we call them. We have more experts in every learning environment supporting our students, which we're really happy that we still have that, that wasn't a one-time thing in the year that we came back from distance learning. But probably the most important piece of this is that at every campus, we have an RTI coordinator. An RTI stands for response to intervention. And so intervention is sort of what we call it when a student is engaged with a layer of support that goes beyond their classroom teacher. And the RTI coordinator can manage this in a number of different ways. They're essentially a teacher that isn't tied to a specific classroom. They're a teacher who supports all the teachers and all the classrooms and all the students. And so in elementaries, they will work with students in small groups who need specific supports. They'll even work one-on-one with students who need additional support. And then in the higher grades, they'll also help to sort of create the approach to support for a student if they need any kind of academic support. And that could be getting them connected with or enrolling them in support sections throughout the day, credit recovery courses, or getting involved in our tutoring programs. We have tutoring during and after school hours that can help support students in need of further support. And we also have our new peer tutoring program, which we started last year, which has been a great sort of other dimension in our academic supports. And I'm going to switch the slide over for Jessica. But our peer tutors are this really wonderful layer of support that we added last year, where we select students or offer to students who are particularly strong in a certain academic area the opportunity to be tutors to their peers. And we give them training, teacher training on how to best utilize the expertise that they've put together in their subject area. And we found that it's been incredibly well liked by the student body, and that if you learn something from a peer who very well understands your experience, and even someone who has learned very recently how to master this content, that's a huge boost in the support for a student in that situation. So we're really happy about it. We're going to be expanding it, and that's another thing that the RTI coordinator, who's sort of the concierge of all of our supports, can help get a student engaged with if they want academic support. So likewise, we have a very robust network of counseling and mental, social, and emotional wellness support at our campuses. And I should also mention that Dorothy, who is head of curriculum, feel free to jump in on anything that I recently went through with the academic supports. And as we move into this next section, Rishi and Gail do the same for counseling as well. I want to make sure that everyone knows that door is open. So we are so lucky to have a comprehensive counseling program at every one of our campuses. And we want to especially thank everyone for their support of measures T and U. Those are the now permanent parcel taxes that again got overwhelming support from the community that ensure that we have licensed counselors at all of our elementary schools, which is a huge deal. Not every elementary district has those. So we have also, we added last year additional licensed therapists in addition to our existing counseling program at all of our middle and high campuses. We call them our social and emotional counselors. We also have social workers who work at all grade levels. We offer substance use counseling and referrals to community resources. And now we partner with so many different wonderful community resources. We know that it can be really hard navigating all of that. So once again, that's a situation where if you reach out to your school counselor, we can help navigate that if there's any service that that your student or your family or you want to get engaged with. And I'll talk a little bit more about our counselors later as well. But another wonderful thing that comes out of having these licensed counselors at every campus is they help to train our teachers and our staff to be able to recognize the signs of a student in distress and know how to build curriculums and interact with students in ways that will support them regardless of what they're going through. It's been great to just have that knowledge base operating on all of our campuses. And again, I should have switched the slide earlier. Jessica, I'm sorry. Hopefully she's been translating in real time as I say that. She's, as I said, very good at that. Okay, and so the next thing that we wanted to make easy, hopefully for everyone, is to give an understanding of how best to get involved on your campuses, right? Every campus has a parent-teacher association or a parent-teacher organization. And by all means, please reach out to those bodies and ask how to get involved and how to join. There's home and school clubs and booster clubs at our campuses, and likewise, you can reach out to them. We as a district, but also your school site, will be running meetings throughout the year where we're asking for either specific input on something or we're presenting information. You can always, every one of those is an opportunity to come and with your questions and ask us things. You can also join your school site council. And this is a body that helps approve every school's achievement and safety plans. You can reach out to your principal to ask how to get involved in that. Again, that's just another way to have input over what's going on at school. You can join our English Learner Advisory Council, ELAC, and this is how parents can help provide guidance on the school English learner and language development programs. Or you can even tell your principal that you want to represent your school in the district advisory committee. And this is a body that helps us decide what to do with what's called our supplemental funds, which is something we get from the state to help support English learners, foster youth, students from low-income families, and any students experiencing homelessness. You can also attend any of our board meetings. We are governed by a board and we post the meetings on our website. Anyone can join. You can come in person or you can just join the Zoom. And at every meeting, they have a section set aside for public comment where you can make comments, ask questions, and engage with anything that's on the agenda for that board meeting as well. And every school has specific parent groups, right? So you can reach out to your school, ask what they have. You can also make a group if you want to, if there's some interest that you want to gather parents into, and the door's always open for that. And of course, you can always volunteer. We really utilize parent volunteers. We love it when people get engaged in the schools. And that, yet again, is something where you can go to your front office or send your principal an email, and they would be able to tell you how best to get involved as a volunteer. Something I found is just, pick up and drop off is a great time to sort of grab hold of anyone on campus and ask your questions as well. I've found that all of our schools are very open to that, and that's nice. Okay, so briefly also, we do use a number of different communication platforms throughout the year to get our information out to you, but also so that you can get information to us. I wanted to mention we're currently in the process of auditing and rebuilding our websites. And so now is a really good time if you have something that you would really like us to put online, or something that you would like to see, a functionality you'd like to see in the website. Now's a great time to reach out and let us know. We will be sending regular email updates throughout the year, and obviously your school will as well, but that's a great way to get in touch with us. I put my email on this screen, so feel free to write it down if you have any questions. I'm a good sort of catch-all for the district. If you're not sure who the best person is to go to with your question, I'm kind of the guy, because I can find that person and get you the answer. We'll also send out texts on a relatively regular basis, informing you of things that are going on. We did poll all of our parent community and found that it's pretty split whether people prefer text or email. So we tend to do both so that we can make sure that we're reaching everyone. We also regularly send out surveys and thought exchanges. We're asking for input from our community, and those are always voluntary, but they really do help us. Any of those that you fill out help us a ton in understanding the needs and makeup of our community. And then we regularly will send video updates out if we have a lot of news that we want to get across as quickly as possible. And the fun thing about those is we also use them as an opportunity to showcase things that are going on our campuses and give everyone a sense of student life, or showcase fun things that our students are doing.
Sam, is it okay if I piggyback on the surveys?
Absolutely.
I just want to assure everyone that we really use that information that you give us. It helped inform all of our budgets for our COVID resources. It helps us plan for our budgets each year and our local control accountability plan each year. When we send that annual family survey, when we send surveys asking for your feedback on what support's needed, that information is used and we make plans around it. So please take the time, because I promise we reflect on it and put it to work in our planning.
And that's a great point too. They say things are sort of decided by the people who show up. And so as we're making decisions, we take into account what people have said to us, and what people have said on the surveys. And so it is a very good way to get heard by us. Okay, so as I said before, prior to the pandemic, we had begun rolling out a lot of safety features, a lot of which were thanks to the bond measures A and B that were passed in 2016 that gave us the ability to create another phase and strategy for our campus safety. But during the pandemic, everything that we were communicating in regards to safety was really concerned with COVID. So So we're excited right now, not only because we've been able to start rolling out some new elements of our safety plan, but we feel that now it's a good time to check back in with our community and make sure that everyone knows what safety looks like in our district. So first and foremost, we begin all of our strategy with data. And now I would say, sadly, there is a lot of data on school violence. And the Secret Service is the law enforcement body that's tasked with analyzing that and learning what it can from that data. And they have found that school connections and relationships between students and school and students and staff is the most effective violence prevention. That's not the only element of our school safety, but it's the one we like to bring up first because we believe this data and have seen the importance of it. So we really try to build an environment of trust between school and our student community and our family community. We actually assess this connectedness in multiple ways every year. We run different surveys with our student body and look for ways to sort of to actually measure this within our student community. And we focus a lot of our professional development, which is just the ongoing learning that all of our staff goes through, and all of our employee orientations on this goal of building a supportive and caring relationship between staff and students, because we really rely on that family trust and partnership. I should have changed this earlier. Yeah, and it's unusual for us to go so long again in the COVID era not communicating this, and we want to make sure that we get back on track with it, because we obviously understand that the trust that is placed in us by anyone who participates in school is incredibly important. We want to do everything we can to show that there's nothing that we take more seriously than the safety of our students. And this also ties into our mental health resources. As I said before, we're so happy to have licensed counseling teams on all of our campuses. We also perform annual screenings with every single student starting in 3rd grade, check-ins with essentially licensed therapists to see who is in need of support and who might be in distress. And as I said before, all of our staff are trained. The counselors help to train all of our staff to make sure that everyone can see the signs of students in need. We run annual suicide prevention trainings, middle and high students and staff. And at all of our campuses, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for students, families, or friends to refer themselves or anyone that they think could use help to one of our counseling resources, because we're so happy to have those resources in place. Another key element of our safety strategy is preparedness. We build emergency response plans in cooperation with our school resource officers. These are plans for multiple contingencies, essentially, emergencies on campus, incidents. We run then training. We run drills at all of our school sites, and we get dedicated training from law enforcement. And then, of course, we maintain close relationships with all local law enforcement agencies so that we can have a fluid response to any safety issue that arises. And I'll give Jessica a moment there. And then once again, I want to thank everyone in our community for supporting bonds A and B back in 2016, because again, when we talk about fencing, when we talk about security technology or anything else, the only way that a school can get funding for any of that stuff is through bonds. We're not funded to build anything significant on campus. The only way that we get that is through bonds. And so we're so grateful that our community passed them in 2016, because that allowed us to install a lot more security fencing on all of our campuses, as well as security camera systems at our high schools. It helped us redesign the entries to a lot of campuses just to give us more control of the traffic as it moves through. And then starting this year, we are rolling out the smart locking system that we sought after bonds measures A and B passed. And what this system is it provides teachers the ability to instantly lock down their classrooms. It also provides administrators and principals the ability to lock down whole campuses or sections of campus remotely. And we can also program it to have reactive lockdown, so that if a number of rooms lock down, it will decide to lock down an entire wing. Now, lockdown is a pretty dramatic phrase. And so we want to make sure that everyone understands that with this system, the door never is locked down from the inside. The teacher, even the students, can still control it on the inside. The units themselves are also separate from the power and internet systems of the campus. And so even if absolutely everything shuts down, the locks will still be completely under the control of the teachers. And it really just, I guess the other cool thing about it, both practically and safety wise, is keys cannot be lost or stolen, essentially, if any of the key cards that activate it are lost, or if an employee leaves employment, that access code is immediately deactivated. And so there's no more worry of lost or stolen keys, because it can be deactivated instantly. So we're really excited that this is being rolled out. It's something that we are starting this year. It's happening at every campus. And again, it's a huge step in safety made possible by the bonds that were passed by our community in 2016. And I should have changed that slide a long time ago, Jessica, I'm sorry. Right, yeah, so Jory just said he's in the office with me. So my understanding is that this is starting at the elementary campuses, and I guess our facilities manager is not here right now, so he can't contradict me. But I believe that we have started at all of the elementary campuses, as in some of these locks are in place at all of our elementary schools, but they're not active at every door lock in any of our campuses yet. We started the rollout this year. We were expecting to do it earlier, but we had to actually upgrade our entire IT infrastructure in order to accommodate the control of them. And that was completed over lockdown. Well, during distance learning, we had the opportunity to complete that on campuses. And so the locks themselves are being rolled out starting this year. We expect, and again, our facilities manager isn't here to contradict me, but when we spoke before, we were expecting to finish rollout, have our first schools fully set up with these locks this semester, by the end of this first semester, that is. And then, the other safety layer that we're rolling out this year is a partnership with something called Catapult EMS. And what this essentially is an app, web, and text-based real-time communication and alert notification system that allows for, as it says here, centralized real-time communication between school sites, law enforcement, and the district. It's also going to be a system of emergency notification that we can push out instantly. And then it also comes with its own reporting, anonymous reporting platform, so that anyone, essentially a confidential tip line. And so we see that as yet another layer of connection where people can report anything that they think requires attention, and anyone in distress. And so thank you for listening through a lot of information. I hope it wasn't too overwhelming. And now we would be only too happy to get questions from everyone. Again, we're really looking forward to this school year because we have so many supports that we're able to offer students and families, and we're confident that it's going to be another year of accelerated growth, which we're excited about. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming with us on another year. And we'd love to take your questions. Yeah, so there was a question in the chat that hasn't been answered yet, but Jory's going to answer now because it's a very good question that everyone should, I think, hear the answer to.
Terrific. Sam, can you stop sharing so we can all?
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
So I wanted to follow up on Samantha's question about will there be notifications of, if classroom had an exposure, and yes, that will continue on for this year. Just wanted to kind of provide that out and from as well as that is what we're going to be doing, and it'll be a continuation as we did last year.
So I also saw there were a number of questions answered in the chat. And so also if you're, the chat can be seen by all participants, is that true? So just encouraging everyone to check in there and look through it and see if anything interesting to you was also answered there.
We have an additional question. It says, is there a resource page we can go to reflect everything that was shared?
Yes, so we're, as I said, we're building our new website. We are building a student services page, but what I think that we can also do is we will post this slide presentation as a news item on our website. And so if there's anything that you saw today that you want to double check, you'll be able to go to the front page of the website and we'll post it there.
I see a question here. Dorothy, can you take this question? How do we start the process of testing for giftedness? I suspect my child is bored.
I think the first, and I was going to type it, but yes, the first best step would be to contact the classroom teacher. If you suspect your child is bored or maybe is not being challenged to the degree they can, we really focus on in Santa Cruz City Schools that we want to provide and customize to the best of our ability for our students. So that would be your very best first step. That is definitely where you want to start as far as not only any concern about a student being bored, but also any concern about a student who may be struggling. So it would be on the flip side of that.
There's a question here about parents. How can they best support teachers and staff? Remaining in communication, I think, is one of the best things that you can do, is communicating what's working and what needs are. That both those things help to support the teachers and staff, support your child.
There's a question regarding academic support and RTI coordinators. So our RTI coordinators, and I'm thinking of elementary specifically, but I'll address secondary, they do work in partnership with our teachers. So again, for support, your best first step is to contact your classroom teacher, and the RTI coordinator is the one who would support and facilitate and work in partnership with the teacher in regards to any academic interventions or supports that may be needed.
So there's a question about boosters for children who are 5 years old and under. The only place to get a booster for your child who is under 5 or 5 and under is from your pediatrician. If you need help getting connected to a primary care physician or someone who can provide that booster, please reach out to either your school community coordinator or to Gail or Rishi at the central office, and we can connect you and help you find someone that can help you get that booster if you'd like to.
So really quickly, Chris, we are getting feedback that the chat is disabled. I just wanted to clarify if there was an expectation that people could see the chat.
There is no chat. There's a Q&A.
Okay.
There is no chat. There is a question and answer, and everyone should be able to see those questions and answers as part of the webinar.
That's probably my fault for using the word chat. I'm sorry, everybody.
It says, are there any updates or changes to the COVID policy based on the new CDC recommendations? We don't follow CDC, we follow the California Department of Public Health. And right now, the California Department of Public Health has not officially adopted all of the CDC recommendations. They may. Sometimes in the past, they've adopted some and not all. But if you want to see what what we're required to follow California Department of Public Health guidelines, and their website can be found with all of that information. And you can also find links to that from our website.
Chris, can I go ahead and address? It looks like Michelle says that Harbor is amazing. Thank you. And is there any way to provide better security at the campus? And Michelle, you should know that Harbor has 2 full-time campus supervisors, just like our other comprehensive high schools. And we have security cameras at Harbor. And every once in a while, we have our school resource officer cruise through the campus. If you have any ideas you'd like to share that we can further use, go ahead and let me know in the Q&A, or you can always email me. But we also have lots of adults, teachers and staff and admin that walk around campus.
There's a question in regards to the expansion of Spanish immersion in elementary, and is it being considered at all sites? You know, we're really proud to be able to offer that program at De La Viega. And it is a program that has a lot of special considerations in order for it to be implemented with fidelity and really provide a rigorous, immersive experience for our students. So right now, our focus is on De La Viega, and that is where the program currently is, and where we're working to ensure it's the best program we can offer our parents who may be eligible for it in the district.
There's a question about parents who are not vaccinated, who'd like to volunteer in their classrooms. At this time, that is not possible. All adults on campus have to be treated like employees per the California Department of Public Health guidelines. We would be required to do weekly testing and monitoring of testing for any adult who is unvaccinated. And we just don't have the bandwidth or the ability to track volunteers who are not vaccinated in addition to any employees who may not be vaccinated.
So there are some comments about not being able to see the question and answer, and I don't know if that is disabled, but I do know in the past we have been able to save all of these questions and answers and can post them. So we certainly can do that as well.
Yeah, and as you're answering them, people on the panel, please make sure you're not replying just to the person who shared that it needs to be to everyone. So make sure that you please make sure that you're hitting that choice.
And on the top of the Q&A box, there's an open button, answered and dismissed. And so if you click on answered, then you might be able to see all of the past questions that have just been previously answered.
Thank you, Risha. That was helpful.
Thank you. Rishi, there's a question about the fire at De La and notifications. That would be a good, if you could maybe answer that in regards to Catapult EMS and what we're working on for the for these type of situations.
Yes, thank you, Dorothy. In the event that actually happened, we were able to get a phone call and then contacted our communications officer, Sam, that helped provide a message that we were able to send out to families. When actually we get Catapult EMS started in a few weeks, what that will do is that would immediately send a notification to your email address of all of the communications that have been sent forth. And so if there is an emergency situation that is occurring, the school site will be able to notify us and the authorities and the district office immediately, where we will then be able to send communications out to the family.
Yeah, and we did, certainly at some schools, we sent out essentially just a reassurance regarding that fire, that it wasn't something that was going to impact schools in any way. In the event of an emergency, even before we have Catapult EMS set up, we do have the ability to send all of our known contacts an emergency text, so that we can get in touch with you in the event that a fire, does necessitate the evacuation of a campus. It's just that we didn't use any sort of emergency channels this past week, because we were assured by local fire that there was not really much of a chance that it would impact the school itself.
I am concerned that I'm seeing that someone's Q&A screen indicates that only the host and panelists can see the questions. So our preferences may have not been set up correctly for this webinar. So I want us to go back to some of these questions we've answered and answer them out loud if we did a written answer. Ask, and I'm going to answer some of these here that are here. This one here, is there a school resource officer assigned to SoCal High School? Yes, there is. We have school resource officers assigned to all of our campuses. We don't have individual school resource officers for every campus, but we do have work in close partnership with both the sheriff and with the Santa Cruz Police Department.
There was also a question in regards to internet access. We can provide hotspots and Chromebooks for students who need them at home. So again, please contact the administration at your school site.
So if we look in the, I'm looking at new questions, but does someone want to look at some of those that have been answered?
Yeah, we've had a few questions about, has this been recorded and will it be available? And yes, to both of those, it will be posted online.
It asks if there will be air purifiers added to classrooms, especially in case of fires in the area. What I want to share with you is that last year we invested a lot of resource into upgrading all of our air filters and our HVAC systems on all of our campuses. We've done, we've added our filters are now either MERV 13 or MERV 11. If the system can't handle a MERV 13 filter, and if that means it's the highest quality filter that can be in an available space. If for some reason we couldn't upgrade to MERV 13, we've added additional air filters, portable air filters to each of those classrooms where we couldn't upgrade those spaces. We're also really hoping, we've been able to do a lot of upgrades with measures A and B. Those are the bond measures that that were passed in the district in 2016. We have plans for further improvements to our HVAC systems if the bond measures pass this fall.
Yeah, and that can be an answer. Also, there's a question about the playground and covered sitting area at De La Viega. And I think that would fit under the same heading, where we have a lot of projects currently in process, and then we have a lot of projects that will wait on the next round if they can't be covered by the current resources.
There's a question about monkeypox. We did share on our social media about a public health webinar last week on monkeypox. It is still considered highly unlikely to see significant transmission of monkeypox in our community, but we are putting out information, especially in our middle schools, in our high schools, for students who may be in relationships with one another that or interpersonal relationships, that they're being careful and aware of the possibility of transmission. So that is definitely on our radar, and we have that information going out to our schools.
There's a question about a high schooler possibly moving to homeschooling for second semester. We have a homeschool program, AFE, and we have an independent studies program. Neither are, you say, under remote, neither are synchronous, neither are live instruction, but there's options where you can work from home with your student can work independently, and you can contact your school administration if you need more information about that. And you can reach out to me as well.
So there's a question about a child having flu-like symptoms out from school, they do need to be tested before they return to school. So having them go to the COE Inspire location would be the best bet. And they can get an antigen test at that Inspire location as well as a PCR test. There's another question about notification. When my child's exposed to, or the school protocol, when there's a positive in your child's classroom, if your child is exposed to COVID, they will be notified, and Jory sends out those notifications daily.
Someone just put a PSA about the fact that they really appreciate the district and campus email and text communications, but wanted to let others know that it could possibly be going to trash or spam as it happened to them. So that's something just to double check.
There's a question about more information on the bond in the near future. There's some information on our website about our district budget and our measures that you'll be able to find there on the front page of the website. If you have if you have specific questions, please feel free to reach out to Sam or to me.
Yeah, there's a in the news section on the website, there is a recorded webinar that breaks down the school budget. And also you can skip towards the end if you would like to, and there's a full breakdown of sort of the process of organizing for the last bond, the work that was assessed, the sort of what we've completed, and then what would be under the scope of the next bond would it should it pass. And so that's a good place to go if you want a fairly detailed overview. But if you have specific questions, yeah, I'd say shoot me an email.
There's a couple more COVID questions here. Is there going to be COVID testing on campus? Yes, we are continuing our COVID testing on all of our campuses, both for voluntary surveillance and exposure testing. There's a question about current rates in our schools. I heard an update from public health today that there is a dip in COVID cases overall in the county. Since the end of July, we're just in the process of tallying ours. COVID has, impacted students and impacted some students delay their return to school, but not a significantly large number. And there was, let's see.
No.
Sam, go ahead.
I clicked answer live, but I was trying to type. I just hit the wrong button. In regards to the school lunch program, if you go to sccs.net, which is our website, /free lunch, that will launch the application to sign that we asked everyone to sign up for free food. But you can always go to our food services webpage, and what they have set up is Surf City Cafes, all one word.com. And our food program puts all their information up, and that's where you can find information on food this year.
There's a question about our November bonds and where folks can get information on that. We will be putting some more factual information on our own website, but once the board has decided to put a bond on the ballot, we can't do much but share facts. You'll be able to find that on our website soon. There's a separate campaign that works separate from the district that you could reach out to find out more information if you're interested. When I go back and see some other questions that we may have answered. There's a question about, can grandparents volunteer? Yes, they can. We welcome grandparents in the classroom as well as parents. There was a question about incorporating restorative justice and restorative practices into our culture and training for conflict resolution. Gail and Rishi, do you want to take that one?
Yes, we have had restorative practices training at all of our secondary schools and also trauma-informed practices. So 4 of our high schools have had training. Our 2 middle schools are interested and have not quite started training yet, but will be starting training. They have something called PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention and Supports, which is similar in terms of supporting students on a social, emotional, and behavioral ways. So yes, we are very interested in restorative justice, and so are our sites, and many have had training. We run restorative practices circles as well in some of our high schools.
I'm just looking at there's a question about access to the internet and hotspots. This is available through our schools. If you need them, please reach out and contact your school. We can support students with both hotspots and Chromebooks. Looking at questions. There's a question about CDPH guidelines. The reason that we follow the California Department of Public Health guidelines is they serve as actually mandates for school districts. We need to follow their guidance to work to keep our campuses safe for both students and staff. We aren't medical experts, and we rely on them and public health to help guide our decision-making, and really don't believe it should be in our hands to make those decisions, but in the hands of the medical professionals. Been really grateful to our local public health and to a local pediatricians group that have been advising all of the school districts over the course of the pandemic, and have helped us to keep our, to get our classrooms open after we were closed, and then to keep them open since we've been open. Is it asking us to put the link out for the food application?
I'm typing that right now.
But the problem is, if they can't see the answers, that won't work. So we'll make sure we send it out tomorrow when we send out a notice that we've posted this webinar. There's also some guidance and some suggested resources for us to maximize our dollars by collaborating with different groups and upgrading our HVAC equipment. So there's a question about getting the link to register for Inspire testing. You can find that on our website. Jory, where exactly on the website is the link for testing registration?
It is. Just going to the home page and it is the web page is at the Santa Cruz or sccs.net community is the tab. Then news, COVID safety resources.
It's a question about whether teachers are educated in neurodiverse behaviors and support. Yes, our teachers are. And if your child's needs aren't still being met, we can provide support.
There's a question about addressing anti-Black racism, and I just want to say that that has been a really deep area of focus for us. What we focus on in our leadership meetings with our administration and other management staff and supervisors is how to be an anti-racist leader. We have had book clubs that with some of our leadership reading Kendi's work, and this year we are also reading another work called So You Want to Talk About Race. We have a superintendent's advisory on race and equity. So those are some things that we are doing right now in order to provide tools for our teachers, our educators, and for our students to combat racism in our schools and in our community.
And Dorothy, I want to add that that superintendent advisory is composed of students
Yes, sorry,
from secondary schools.
important.
Yeah.
Additionally, just to add, we also have Black student unions on our campuses, and we are in collaboration with the County Office of Education with an overall county Black student union, where we do celebrate students at the end of the year with a celebration, and we are anticipating another college trip to HBCUs, just to get more support for students and in that direction as well.
So a question about whether students get snacks with their free lunches. Students can, at the break, either get breakfast, it's a full breakfast, or lunch, get a full lunch. They don't get a la carte items. It's a full meal both times. Are we seeing other questions? Do you have any additional questions that we haven't answered yet? There's a question about, can you donate food that's not eaten by students to local shelters? We can't do that. That would be, it wouldn't be following protocols. We do have different ways where students can, we create share tables. If students don't eat something from their lunch, that they can put it on the share table, and others can have or take from that table. But we can't give the food out to shelters. That wouldn't, there are different food safety laws that wouldn't allow for that. Just want to thank everyone for being here this evening, and want to remind you that we are here to serve and support you and your children. And we love our jobs, wouldn't want to be doing anything different. And don't hesitate to reach out if we can answer a question or provide support in any way. And if we can't find answers, we're going to help you find someone that can. So thank you. We hope you all had a wonderful start to the school year, and that it is a great year of growth for your child. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.